evening and thank you for staying with us right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku and these are the top stories. President Tinubu increases 2025 budget proposal to 54.2 trillion naira. President Tinubu increases retirement age of doctors, healthcare professionals. President Tinubu sacks Adamawa Sakwato Abia INEC Rex. Tribunal stalls as INEC fails to present witnesses in Edo State. Al-Rufai accuses Ribadu of serious amnesia, insists NSA called Tinubu corrupt. Details now. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has increased the proposed 2025 budget from 49.7 trillion naira to 54.2 trillion naira, citing additional revenue generated by key government agencies. The announcement was made through separate letters sent to both the Senate and the House of Representatives. Reading the letter during plenary today, Senate President Godswill Akpabio stated that the budget increase resulted from 1.4 trillion naira additional revenue from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, 1.2 trillion naira from the Nigeria Customs Service, and 1.8 trillion naira generated by other government-owned agencies. Following the announcement, Akpabio directed the request to the Senate Committee on Appropriations for swift consideration, assuring that the budget would be finalized and passed before the end of the month. The National Assembly is expected to fast-track deliberations to ensure timely approval and implementation of the 2025 budget. Recall that President Bola Tinubu submitted the budget proposal to the National Assembly on December 18, 2024. The various Senate and House committees, while scrutinizing the budget estimates, had complained that inadequate provisions for the various ministries, departments, and agencies. The Nigerian Constitution permits the National Assembly, the highest legislative body in the country, to either increase or reduce the financial estimates for the fiscal year through proper legislative procedures. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the change in the retirement age of medical doctors and other healthcare professionals in the country from 60 to 65 years. The National Publicity Secretary of the Nigerian Medical Association, Dr. Manir Bature, disclosed this in a statement today. He added that President Tinubu has also approved the allocation and disbursement of funds necessary to settle their outstanding arrears. Bature noted that the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, has been tasked with officially submitting the approval to the Council on Establishment via the Office of the Head of Service for final confirmation. He mentioned that the change in policy was communicated by Pate during an important meeting with the NMA President, Professor Bala Audu, alongside crucial stakeholders in the health sector. He stated that the coordinating minister has verified that the outstanding payments stemming from the adjustment to the consolidated medical salary structure are scheduled for disbursement. Mr. Bature cited the minister's statement indicating that President Tinubu has given his approval for the necessary adjustments to be made for both the consolidated medical salary structure and the consolidated health salary structure, which are a result of the implementation of the new minimum wage. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has left Nigeria for Paris, France, on a private visit ahead of his scheduled attendance at the African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. According to the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Nanuga, Tinubu will use the opportunity of his stay in France to meet with French President Emmanuel Macron. Although details of the private visit remains undisclosed, there is speculation that discussions between Tinubu and Macron may center on economic partnerships, trade relations, and diplomatic cooperation between Nigeria and France. After his visit to Paris, President Tinubu will proceed to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to participate on the 46th Ordinary Session of the Executive Council and the 38th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of the AU Heads of State, scheduled to hold from February 12 to 16, 2025. As chairman of ECOWAS, Tinubu is expected to play a significant role in deliberations on security, economic integration, and regional stability, especially in light of the recent political crisis in West Africa. The summit will also focus on strengthening the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and addressing pressing security issues across the continent. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has also written to the Senate requesting the immediate termination of appointments of suspended resident electoral commissioners of the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC for Sokoto, Adamawa and Abia states. This was made known in a letter to the Senate read today by Senate President Godswill Akpabio during plenary. The suspended resident electoral commissioners are Ike Uzochukwu, Abia, Hudu Yunusa Ari Adamawa, and Nura Ali Sokoto. They were accused of misconduct during the 2023 general elections. The president said the resident electoral commissioners were suspended by INEC before he assumed office more than 1 year ago. The Senate is invited to note that the 3 resident electoral commissioners have been suspended for misconduct since March 2022 before the advent of the current administration. While I trust the Senate will consider this request expeditiously, accept distinguished senators and distinguished Senate President the assurances of my highest consideration, end quote. The President is expected to ask the Red Chambers to confirm nominees to fill the vacant offices in the coming days. And still on the world news at 6, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmoud Yakub, has called for advocacy against vote buying during party primaries. Reports that Professor Yakubu described the practice as diabolic and undermining democracy. Professor Yakubu stated this during the Commission's first regular consultative meeting with civil society organizations for the year 2025 on Tuesday in Abuja. The INEC chair called on CSOs to pay attention to party politics, particularly party primary elections. Yakubu further commended the CSOs for their observations on INEC's conduct during elections and suggestions on how to ensure transparent elections in the country. Also, he disclosed that some delegates openly boasted of how much money they made from aspirants during party primaries. You should intensify your advocacy in support of the practical steps taken by the relevant security and law enforcement agencies to tackle this diabolical practice. Meanwhile, proceedings at the Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal in Abuja were stalled today due to the absence of witnesses from the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). The AP News understands that the tribunal is hearing a petition filed by the People's Democratic Party and its governorship candidate Asue Ighodalo, challenging the September 21, 2024 gubernatorial election results, which declared Governor Monday Okpebholo of the All Progressives Congress as the winner. At the resumed hearing, INEC's counsel Abdullahi Aliyu informed the tribunal that the 5 witnesses listed for the defense were still on their way to Abuja from Benin City and were unable to testify as scheduled. However, in an attempt to show its commitment to defending the election results, INEC tendered 3 documents before the Wilfred Kochi-led 3-member tribunal. These documents included certified true copies of the collation of results at the state level, Form EC8D, Declaration of Results Form, Regulations and Guidelines for the Conduct of Elections 2022. Despite this, Justice Wilfred Kochi faulted INEC's approach, stating that the entire day has been wasted due to the Commission's unpreparedness. INEC's counsel Aliyu pleaded for an adjournment, arguing that the Commission still had a 10-day timeline to present its defense and would only require 1 day to conclude its case. In a very recent development, where the former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has waded into the ongoing controversy between Naja'atu Mohammed and National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu, stating that Naja'atu's claims are accurate. Naja'atu has stated that Ribadu described President Tinubu and some other 7 governors in 2006 as corrupt. Ribadu was, at the time, the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. El-Rufai, in a post on X, formerly Twitter, insisted that Ribadu made the alleged statements in 2006, citing Senate records, a 2007 Daily Trust report, and Federal Executive Council conclusions as evidence. Naja'atu Mohammed versus Nuhu Ribadu. Nuhu must have serious amnesia. Naja'atu's statement is accurate. The record of proceedings in the Senate will confirm that Nuhu made those statements sometime in 2006. The subsequent Daily Trust report below of February 2007 reconfirms the essence of the statements. The conclusions of the Federal Executive Council in 2006, which can be subpoenaed from the Cabinet Secretariat or the SGF's office, contains the allegation. In that special FEC meeting in which I was a member, Nuhu's EFCC made similar presentations accusing many sitting officials. This is for the record and to remind the morally flexible that at some point in our national life, silence is no longer golden. End quote. Meanwhile, Nuhu Ribadu has actually written a court letter to Naja Atu declaring that she actually does a public apology. Otherwise, she needs to bring proof that he accused President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of being corrupt on the said year. You're currently listening to the World News at 6 right here in Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll head into our analysis segment, and I'll be joined via the telephone by Barrister Eze Eluche. Barrister Eze Eluche is a political, national, and social affairs commentator. He'll be responding to some questions posed at him. Do kindly stay with us. Barrister, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us on the World News at 6.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Yeah.
All right, Barrister Eze Eluche, is it surprising to you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has mandated for the sacking of some INEC heads, namely Hudu Yunusa Ari, that represented Adamawa State? We also have 2 other individuals who are INEC heads. Now, the thing that actually makes a lot of persons surprised is the fact that this resident electoral commissioners under the purview of Mahmoud Yakubu, one in Abia State, Ike Uzochukwu, one also in Sokoto, Nura Ali, these individuals have been permanently sacked. Now, Nigerians are calling, what about the sacking of Mahmoud Yakub, considering the fact that he is yet to parade other electoral officers to the court? He risks a contempt of court to be arrested. The court has mandated Mahmoud Yakub to present electoral offenders. It's more than 6 months now, and nothing has happened. Is it surprising that these individuals that were involved in the 2023 presidential elections, that were part of those that neutralized the authenticity of the elections, are just being sacked 2 years after the confirmation of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
The reality is that as long as Mahmoud Yakubu is still there as INEC chairman, it can be presumed that whoso horrendous rigging which the INEC chairman wants to perpetrate. So the second being undertaken now by Mr. President is just that these are people who refuse to buy into his next rigging plans, and they want to be more independent. That's the only thing Nigerians can take away from this. Because as long as the head of the outfit, Mahmoud Yakubu, who presided over the electoral haste of 2023, is allowed to remain in office, is allowed to continue to even pretend to be handling elections, any sack in the agency is actually meaningless. That's the short answer.
So you're saying that the sacking of these guys who are already suspended by INEC is not necessarily as we consider it to be. A couple of Nigerians do not trust INEC as an institution. They've been calling for the sack of Mahmoud Yakub ever since the conduct of the 2023 elections. Mahmoud Yakub on 2 different occasions had organized a press conference having to describe to Nigerians what transpired during the presidential election that led to the glitch that occurred on the IRF portal. Nigerians up till now do not believe the explanation given. They feel there was some underhanded measures that took place at the time that supposedly still questions the emergence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of that election. Now, Nigerians have actually moved on, but it's a huge question on the personality of Mahmoud Yakub and INEC as an institution. Now, INEC couldn't take corrective measures because in the governorship election, as well as the off-season elections that took place after, it was worse. The election malpractices recorded during the off-season elections was worse. Is the problem about the INEC chair, Mahmoud Yakub, about the institution, or the fact that there are some political bureaucrats that controls these agencies that are meant to be independent?
Well, let me correct one impression. Nigerians have not moved on. For so long as the evil perpetrated by Mahmoud Yakubu continues, and we are witnessing the results of that evil in terms of the maladministration, the bad governance, the economic hardship Nigerians are going through, the extreme, the violence taking place in the north by Boko Haram, all the things that good governance would have addressed. So long as that thing is being perpetrated, we cannot say Nigerians have moved on. We are still living the pains, the anguish of the effects of Mahmoud Yakubu's electoral heist. And with regards to his various comments, I mean, people should have learned by now not to listen to this character again.
Okay.
This was a man who, before the election, he went all over the world. He went wherever he was invited. He swore by whatever he held sacrosanct. He swore by whatever he held sacrosanct that there will be the elections, the votes will count, the beavers, the IRF, everything will work without issues. Only for on the day of election, he had the temerity, when the wrongs were pointed out to him, to say you can go to court. So as far as most Nigerians are concerned, anything that Mahmoud Yakubu says should be considered as absolute nonsense. Yes, he might still be in office. He is still there to do the bidding of Mr. Bola Tinubu, but it does not mean that we should have any respect for such a character. That is just the reality.
Barrister Barrister Eze, the chair, sincerely do apologize. Hudu Yunusa Ari is one controversial former resident electoral commissioner that questioned where the, will I say, spine of these individuals came from. We saw how Hudu Yunusa Ari went and announced Binani as the governor of Adamawa State without waiting for the complete collation of the results. Hudu Yunusa Ari was accompanied out of that center by the commissioner of police in that state, along with other security aides, put in a helicopter and went away. Now, when it was discovered the fraudulent activity or the fraudulent act of that practice, Hudu Yunusa Ari disappeared. INEC came and told us that they were liaising with Interpol, that they do not know his whereabouts. I recall at the time Festus Okoye came to speak with us about the whereabouts of Hudu Yunusa Ari. The next time we heard was that Hudu Yunusa Ari had collapsed while he was supposed to appear in court. Later, we heard that he actually traveled out of Nigeria to meet his other wife in Niger Republic. Later, we also heard that he had written to the court for his case to be completely dismissed. And it took the president asking for the Senate to confirm his sack. Are we saying that the court couldn't process that on their own without the president ultimately signing that they should be sacked?
The reality is this, the man you have just mentioned, the wreck in Adamawa State.
Yes.
I don't blame him. He feels that if somebody in Abuja, the INEC chairman, can get away with blue murder, why can't he do what he can do and make his own money? So the fish rots from the head. I mean, the Musa guy, the guy you're mentioning, just felt like, okay, if this is how it is, let me grab what I can grab and move on. And he doesn't give a damn about the consequences. And look at what you've just narrated. Is it not laughable that a man who committed the kind of atrocities he committed was still allowed to be in the system? And he keeps on giving all sorts of stories. And by the way, the man who served as commissioner of police in Adamawa for that fraudulent process was, rather than being dismissed, he was returned back to Imo State, where he continued to perpetrate illegalities as commissioner of police. And he has not been sacked till tomorrow. So why? I mean, the issue is this, the reality is this. The focus on this character means that either he's no longer willing to play ball with the system, with the APC-led government, and it's not that there's any attempt to cleanse the politics, because the entire politics, from the chairman of INEC to the various nepotistic appointments made in INEC, are all rigged with fraud. Let us not bother ourselves with this. Yes, they can think they can get away with all these fraudulent activities, but there will be a payback time. There will be a payback time. The track of these INEC officials is immaterial. As long as the factors, as long as the chairman of INEC continues to be in office, and that all those police officers and security operatives who helped the result of the 2023 elections are still there. We can't be talking of piecemeal sacks. The entire INEC hierarchy, including Festus, okay, you mentioned, but that not only should be sacked, they should also be prosecuted.
All right, Barrister Eze Eluche, do we see Mahmoud Yakub remaining there as an INEC boss till 2027? There are complaints and talks about some political strategy ahead for 2027. Sensitive institutions, according to the opposition political parties, they are accusing the APC-led government of having to hijack these institutions to ensure they have a smooth sway in 2027. One of such an institution that is going to be the bane or the decision-making platform for 2027 is INEC. Are we going to see the supposed same pattern of 2023 in 2027 under the jurisdiction of Mahmoud Yakub? Or there is a possibility that his appointment would have actually expired before then?
Well, the reality is this. With this INEC chairman, they can move along with whoever gives them the highest bidding. Let me replace our minds back to the issue of Atahiru Jega. Atahiru Jega helped the PDP to rig the first set of elections, but then when it came to the time of Buhari, the man did the other way around. So even if they retain Mahmoud Yakubu, once a man is purchasable, once a man can be bought, even if you give me $1 billion, you don't know what the other party is giving him. So let them continue to use Mahmoud Yakubu. There is still no guarantee that he will do their bidding when the time comes.
All right, in the same breath, Mahmoud Yakubu has called for described the practice as diabolic and undermining democracy. This was during the Commission's first regular consultative meeting with civil society organizations in the year 2025, just yesterday in Abuja. He actually called on CSOs to pay attention to party politics, particularly party primary elections. He says it is important that they should monitor reports as accredited election observers, that they have consistently expressed concerns over vote buying at polling units during elections. Why is Mahmoud Yakub calling this diabolical? These were the instances that were shouted at and criticized at the 2023 general elections. A couple of polling units recorded vote buying. They showed videos and evidences of usurpation of people's votes at the time, ballot boxes snatched and all of that. We didn't hear this expression from the INEC chair. How would you describe his utterance? How would you describe this statement he made in Abuja to the CSOs?
It shows a man who is totally devoid of scruples and shameless.
In what sense, sir?
In the sense that if vote buying is diabolic, announcing fake results heavenly.
INEC chairman never announced a fake result. He explained what transpired, what caused the glitch in the IRA portal twice.
Good. I am repeating my comment. If buying of votes is diabolic, does announcing results to be patently fraudulent and fake, is it heavenly? Because that was exactly what he did. And all this nonsense about the IRA portal having a glitch, it has been proved several to be absolute nonsense. Glitches don't occur in a vacuum. They can be traced. And all the IT experts came to the conclusion that there was not a single glitch. Whether it was self-serving, an internal effort at announcing fake results. So if Yakubu is calling vote buying diabolical, the question that he should have been asked was, announcing fake or falsified results, is it heavenly? Is it spiritual?
Barrister.
And then the problem is this. Those who keep on going to this man to seek his comments, they are part of Nigerian's problem. This is a character who presided over the worst elections in Nigerian's history. And yet, journalists are going to ask him about elections? In what sense, for goodness sake? It's unfortunate.
Barrister Eze Eluche, those are your opinions that Mahmoud Yakub announced fake results. According to him, he says that the results called out were authenticated, were the true voting of Nigerians, and that was how President Bola Ahmed Tinubu emerged. I just want to put it out there that those are your, will I say, perceptions to the 2023 elections. Now, let's move into a situation where President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has traveled to France to meet his close friend, Emmanuel Macron. The reason for the visit is not disclosed. We don't know precisely why he is visiting, but a couple of people think that it's for health reasons. Now, the question is, they say, the health minister recently disclosed to us that some Americans, some, Europeans are visiting our health centers for treatment. If that is the case, why would the president have to travel out anymore for any health reason? I am not saying that he traveled to France for health reasons, but that is the speculation. Would we still have the president traveling out for appointments with foreign hospitals if, according to the health minister, that our medical system is better now, that is attracting foreigners to come here for treatment?
Well, the unfortunate thing is that Mr. Tinubu traveled out of the country with a presidential jet. Okay. And he claimed he was going on a private visit. Mm-hmm. For goodness sake, when the British Prime Minister is going on a private visit, he pays for his own, whether economy or business class trip. The presidential jet is not a toy attached to the president. It is for official business. But now he travels there and then he wants to, on a private visit to his friend. Who cares which friend he has? Now, the same friend you're talking about, Emmanuel Macron, has been rebuffed by virtually all Francophone African countries. They cut ties with him based on his kind of policies. And this is the man that Mr. Tinubu thinks should be his good friend. And I don't know how this characters reason. Because after this visit to France, he will travel to Ethiopia for the African Union Summit. And then we'll expect the leaders of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire to relate well with him after he's gone to meet their nemesis. With regard to the issue of what Mr. Pate, the Minister of Health, said about about health, medical tourism. Yes. At times, when these characters lie, you will have expected the journalists in the audience to put it to them that they are lying. How can the minister be saying that the health system in Nigeria is such that foreigners come to Nigeria? For what? Does he, even as the Minister of Health, go to hospitals in Nigeria? It should have been told outright that he was lying. And that will be the end of it. What kind of comment does he want Nigerians to make? We can't even, the basic primary health concerns, maternal care, immunization, we are lacking in those things. And the minister goes out to lie in the public shamelessly. It's unfortunate that we have characters who lie with that effrontery in such high offices. Quite unfortunate.
Barrister Uche, thank you so much for taking your time and giving us your perspective on the World News at 6. We've actually run out of time. We have a program coming up very soon. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
You too, sir. All right, to wrap up the World News at 6, here again are the top stories. President Tinubu increases 2025 budget proposal to 54.2 trillion naira. President Tinubu increases retirement age of doctors, healthcare professionals. Tinubu sacks Adamawa Sakwato Abia INEC Rex. Tribunal stalls as INEC fails to present witnesses in Edo State. El-Rufai accuses Ribaldo of serious amnesia, insists NSA called Tinubu corrupt. That's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachiku. Good evening and thank you for staying with us. Up next is Born to Live.